Tetris is the world's most popular video game, with 425 million total paid mobile downloads, as stated by Hank Rogers, former CEO of the Tetris company. Tetris at its core, as explained by the manual that comes with the original NES release, is a new type of puzzle game. 7 different shaped blocks fall down the game field, one after another. The object of the game is to keep the blocks from piling up to the top of the game field. To do this, you can move the blocks left and right, and rotate them as they fall. If you can completely fill in one horizontal line, that line disappears and you get points. But for anyone who has played modern Tetris games, you may have noticed that they look quite different compared to the iconic original release of Tetris for the Nintendo Entertainment System. This is because all newer Tetris games follow something we'll call modern Guideline. The Guideline makes several key changes to the popular game, but to really understand these changes, we must first understand what makes a good video game. All the best games are easy to learn and difficult to master. They should reward the first quarter and the 100th. This is a quote famously attributed to Nolan Bushnell, founder of the famous arcade company Atari. This quote gets to the core of what makes a good game. It must first be simple enough for a total beginner to enjoy, but also be complex enough to give more advanced players things to learn. So how do these changes to Tetris make the game better? For any game, the new player experience is key. If your game is too difficult for a beginner, they'll just quit before getting good. The modern Tetris Guideline makes several visual changes to address this issue. The first most obvious change is the set color scheme. Before the Guideline, there was no set color scheme. The color of each piece would vary between games, and some games, like the original NES Tetris, had a color scheme that would change between levels. The fixed color scheme allows for players to more easily become familiar with all the pieces, helping newer players learn which piece is associated with which color. Another major visual change is the addition of the ghost piece. The ghost piece is like a shadow for your current piece, showing the player where your current piece would land. This is a major improvement, allowing players to have a reference point for their current piece. Without the ghost piece, a lot of practice is needed to get the feel of where each piece initially appears and how many button presses are required to move the piece to its desired location. Guideline also makes several changes to the mechanics of the game to help lower the skill floor. The most notable mechanical change would be the addition of the Super Rotation System, SRS, which allows for more leniency when rotating pieces. In games without SRS, when your piece is flush against the wall or any other surface, you would not be able to rotate it. SRS solves this by adding a kicking feature which lets pieces kick off of walls, letting the rotation happen. This is great for new players since they would often encounter scenarios where the piece would not be able to rotate, ending up in them misplacing the piece. Guideline also adds a hold function, which allows players to save pieces for later. For newer players, this is helpful, since without proper planning, you might end up with the wrong piece at the wrong time. The hold function remedies this problem, allowing for new players to have more options when playing the game. An easy game isn't a good game, however. A good game must not be easily mastered. Players must still be able to improve after dedicating thousands of hours. Guideline's changes to the mechanics of the game allow for more diverse playstyles, increasing the skill ceiling. Guideline's addition of SRS allows advanced players to do complex spins, allowing them to place pieces in places which they wouldn't normally be able to go. As players improve, they can learn more complex spins and incorporate them into their gameplay. Guideline also adds a new scoring system which allows players to earn more points in unique and different ways. In previous games, the most optimal strategy is to clear 4 lines as frequently as possible. With the addition of T-spins, combos, and back-to-back, players have many more options available to them. Some visual additions also increase the skill ceiling of the game. Guideline adds more previews, allowing advanced players to plan multiple pieces ahead. As mentioned earlier, the addition of the hold function not only decreases the skill floor, but also increases the skill ceiling. Players can utilize the hold function to set up more complex and efficient builds, which adds more depth and skill to the game. Having a low skill floor and high skill ceiling is important, but the one thing that trumps them both is how it feels to play the game. A game can be intuitive and have lots of depth, but if it doesn't feel good to play, no one will want to play it. A Guideline makes several changes to help make the game feel better to play compared to previous versions. The most obvious change is to the randomizer. In the original NES Tetris release, the order of the pieces is completely random. This is why sometimes it feels like the piece you need never appears, and ends up ruining a good playthrough. Modern Guideline uses a 7-bag randomizer. This means that you are guaranteed one of each piece every 7 pieces, so it is no longer up to luck as to whether you get what you need. Another big change is the addition of hard drop. Hard drop gives players the ability to instantly place the piece instead of waiting for it to fall. This allows players to play at whatever pace they want instead of being limited to the speed of the game. The addition of SRS also allows players to perform movements more efficiently, allowing players to place the piece wherever they want very quickly. In conclusion, several mechanical and visual changes including color scheme, ghost piece, hold, SRS, hard drop, 7-bag randomizer, and the scoring system make Guideline Tetris a great game. Although the original game was a major success, the modern Guideline changes make Tetris even better.